Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. And I've got another book review for you today, and I'm actually pretty excited about this book review because I'm really excited about this book. And you know, every once in a while I read a book that really connects, and I feel like they've got everything right. I've got ambulances here. I don't know what it is with Pacific Beach. Are people just stabbing each other and killing each other? Because there's friggin' ambulances every night. I don't understand. Just doesn't make sense. I'm walking down the street, I'm not seeing people jumping out of the bushes and cutting each other's throats, but apparently I must not be going down the alleyways or something. Anyway, you know, about the book, right? So the book. So anyway, it's not very often that I read a book that so connects with my thought process and philosophy in life. There's actually one book so far that I've read that really, it was uncanny in the way that it portrayed my mindset, right? Which I've already done a review on. Actually, just check out the review. You can check it out here, called The 10X Rule and it's by Grant Cardone. And it really, if you know me and you know how friggin' like a pit bull I am, grabbing onto things and attacking things and trying to be as prolific as possible, then you probably read that book and you're like, that sounds like John. Or you might have thought I got my strategy from there. It co-evolved. Same thing with this book. So the book I'm talking about today is How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big, Kind of the Story of My Life by Scott Adams. And you can check that out here. I highly, highly recommend this book. Now, I don't agree with every detail in the book. The fitness and health section, obviously, I've got a little bit more of a upper hand on that. But everything else, man, Scott Adams, this is the creator of Dilbert, right? And I heard this book was good, and I was like, I don't know, really? Okay, so I picked it up. I thought, okay, I kind of was looking for something a little bit more entertaining, and I thought, okay, this book is on my list, and a couple of people have recommended it. But wow, was I surprised when I read this book. And let me tell you why. Because it's different than, like I said, with Grant Cardone with the 10X rule, different message here, but something also that I find that is deeply in my philosophy of success, right? Which is essentially the author Scott Adams. He talks about this idea, at least one of the big ideas. I think I'll go through kind of the table of contents here. I still got to figure out a good way to do these book reviews. I don't know how valuable it is if I just talk about the book. Maybe I should be going through the pieces. I don't know. We'll experiment. I'll figure it out. We'll see what happens here. So anyway, one of the big things was this idea and he called it goal setting is for losers or something like that, and systems are for winners. He basically, and I don't totally agree that setting goals is necessarily bad, but I don't think he does either. I think his point was to basically say, a little spider's distracting me. I must be ADHD. I just can't stand a little spider. Get out of here. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes. So goal setting, right? So I develop systems for things, right? This is how. His basic philosophy of the entire book is kind of this. It's kind of based around this idea that if you develop good systems and you repeatedly do those systems, eventually you're going to get lucky. You're going to connect with luck. Those systems are going to almost guarantee that you're going to have enough opportunities to connect with luck, and then you're going to hit super success and make a lot of money and and do all these things. And so that is basically what I've been doing a lot, right? So if you know me, I create systems for things, and those systems end up, it's the same thing. It's another way of thinking about the 10X rule of just working 10 times harder, of building, right? So my systems are quite interesting, right? So I created a system for creating Pluralsight courses when I was doing that, and that system of always being the best producer and how I was producing those courses, that eventually resulted in success. The same thing with doing blog posts, right? And now with YouTube videos, I sort of have a system here, right? I've got this system, and I'm just going to keep on repeating this system until this thing blows up. And it's been, I mean, we're at like, what, 37,000 subscribers now. It's been growing pretty rapidly. I'm doing like 2 videos a day pretty much every single day, sometimes even more than that. And that's the strategy. That's a system, right? That's the kind of thing. I also employ systems in a lot, you know, how I write my books, just, you know, in my workouts, right? Like knowing that this will eventually lead to huge successes, and it does. I get lucky, and then bam, you know, something really amazing happens, and I know that it will work. So that's what he talks about. And the book itself is written, I mean, the guy is good. Like he is entertaining, right? So he injects humor properly in the book. So it's fun. He's telling his story. He starts off listing all his failures, and also with a story, because, you know, this guy knows what he's doing. Amazing, right? You wouldn't think the author of Dilbert, but seriously, really, really bright dude. And he's discovered a lot of the things that I was like, right on. This is exactly like I need to do a video on this topic, because I do this thing. I didn't actually put it into words or put it into writing. So he talks about, let's see here, he goes in right away talking about his failures. He says passion is bullshit, which I love, right? That's one of his chapters, and that's where he's talking about his failures, I think. And then he goes through you know, some of his worst failures, goals versus systems. That was, you know, in chapter 6. Talks about his system, how his corporate career fizzled, and deciding versus wanting, which is a really important concept. This idea that, you know, a lot of people want these things, but they don't actually take action and do things, right? And I'm always saying take action, and that's, you know, the same thing he's talking about is this the selfishness illusion. He talks about how you got to like focus on yourself first in order to be able to help others, right? This is like, these are like such good concepts. And then you know, managing your attitude. He's got a ton of stuff. One of his things that he tries to do is he maximizes his energy. So I think this is kind of an interesting thing that I might try out, because I sometimes end up running energy deficient, and so he does things that increase his energy so that he'll have more of it. Again, I'm just skimming this because you really need to read this book. It's really good. This is seriously one of the best self-help books, honestly, and it comes from the author of, you know, Dilbert cartoon. This good dude is awesome. He talks about like going through his speaking career, and he lost his voice. He has got really good stories in here, and then he talks about, well, let me see what he had in here. That was, there's just so many good things. One of the awesome things is he talks about like the ideas, like the math, he calls it the math of success. And he says like, these are the things that you need to know as a human being. And I actually did a video on this topic recently about like what you should know about, but he expands on it a little bit more, and he's got some good ones here. Like, you know, what has he got here? I don't think it's got it all listed here, but essentially, like, you should have some public speaking skills, you should have some marketing skills or persuasion skills, right? And he goes through this whole list of business writing and why they're important, and it's really good, really solid stuff here, like really good list. And then another interesting thing that he talks about here is this idea of affirmations. And it's really interesting because he's, you know, he's analytical, right? He comes from an engineering background, just like me, you know, same thing. But he's discovered that these affirmations in his life have somehow worked amazingly well, like well beyond, because he did some affirmations saying that, you know, he'll be rich someday, that he'll be a famous cartoonist, and those things happened. And it's just, he's got a really interesting concept on it. And he goes and he says, I know you think I'm crazy. He knows, you know, I know that you think that this is crazy bullshit, and maybe it's a delusion. And, you know, he goes through all the logical arguments, and he says, but at the end of the day, like, we don't have to understand something in order to know why it works. And this is such a good point. I might actually do a video on this. I know I've done some videos touching on the subject, but anyway, I think that's probably enough for this review. Needless to say, really good book, lots of really good, just, you know, it reminds me of my book of soft skills, except it's a whole different set of things. The way it reminds me is because he's taken a bunch of life lessons and stuff and just compacted it in here. Some of them aren't even connected, but it's like, this is just like a book of wisdom, right? This is why I like the book so much, is because it's just got like this guy's life, what made him successful, all of his thoughts on it, and it's just a bunch of compact wisdom that is really practical and usable. So this could save you a lot of years of living life and learning things. I wish I had been exposed to some of these things earlier on, so I didn't have to figure out a lot of these things on my own. And there's some good things in here that I'm actually going to apply, because I'm like, oh wow, especially the energy thing. So anyway, highly recommend the book. The book is called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. You can check it out here. I'm not sure about the title, but other than that, the book is awesome. So go check it out. And then the health and diet, I think there's some decent advice, but I think if you're looking for excellent results, you're not going to find it in that advice in the book, unfortunately. But everything else, totally solid. All right. Hopefully you like this review. If you do, be sure to check out the playlist of all the reviews and subscribe to the channel. Just click the big subscribe button and you will be subscribed. You will be a subscriber. All right. Take care.